Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum. And Tom and I are back with another episode of Found Footage Fridays.
Feels like it's been a little while, but I don't know. Like a couple
I
weeks,
think,
we took a break maybe, but
yeah, I was busy dying and you've been busy promoting. And so we've just,
back
a lot.
we're back at it. We got stuff to talk about. There's some new movies for us.
Yes, super excited about this one. So Tom and I covered Horror in the High Desert, gosh, like a month or so ago, almost 2 months probably
Or
now.
more, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and it was one that we were really excited about because it was that mockumentary style and it really worked for us and we liked it. Go watch the episode if you haven't seen it.
Yep.
You'll want to watch that one before you watch this one.
Yep.
And so people had been posting about it randomly, and I had posted on Twitter something about the fact that we loved the first one and we had talked about it on the channel, and the guy Dutch that did Horror in the High Desert commented or replied or something about the fact that they were getting ready to release the trailer for the second one, and then slid into mine and Tom's DMs and asked us if we wanted to watch it and get early access and see a screener for it. So we watched it. We got access to it before it came out. And then the trailer dropped like that following day, I think, after, right?
Yeah.
And so the movie we're talking about today is Horror in the High Desert 2, Minerva. Oh.
We're getting good at this now.
Yeah, that's right. You get it. You're doing better than I am. I still pointed in the total opposite direction.
What can I say?
So this one, let's see. So this has a 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
You'll love this. 4 out of 5 on Voices from the Balcony. And essentially, I'm just gonna read like the short thing on here. Because I don't want to give too much away. In 2018, a string of tragedies unfolded in northeastern Nevada. A woman was found dead, and another would vanish along the same stretch of remote highway. Could these events be linked to the 2017 disappearance of outdoorsman Gary Hinge? And if you're not familiar, Gary, or if you forgot, Gary Hinge is the character that we learn about in the first Horror in the High Desert. So
the first movie builds up to his disappearance, and the very end of that movie, we get some actual found footage, which is a total cliffhanger and sets you up for this second movie, Minerva, which is what everybody who is interested in found footage is talking about right now. It is the hot movie at the moment. And I can totally understand why.
Yeah. So I will be honest, it is kind of it's nerve-wracking to get access to stuff early, or to, like, in the past, I've done like filmmaker interviews on my channel, and to go into it willing to interview them before you see the movie, or agreeing to do it before, because you don't know if you're going to like it, you don't know how it's going to feel. But I was really confident when I watched, because I watched it literally like within 10 minutes of him sending me the link. I was watching it because I was so excited, because I really liked the first one. Huh?
Yeah. I said, you're better than me. It took me
you've had a lot going on too. I was homesick, so all I had time to do was watch movies. But yeah, so I was really excited about it, and the short of it is, it did not disappoint. Do you want to do ratings?
Yeah, let's do ratings.
Okay. So you want to go?
Do you want me to go first? Yeah, I'll go first. Okay. I actually can't remember. I was trying to think how I rated the first movie, and I'm too lazy to go and check what we said in that episode.
We both rated it pretty high, though.
Yeah, pretty high.
Pretty high.
The reason I want to know is because I personally thought that this second movie was one of the rare instances in which the sequel was even better than the original. And when I say
that makes me so
even
excited
better,
that you feel that way.
Yeah. And when I say like even better, I mean specifically, I thought it was a lot scarier.
Me too. I have like goosebumps. I totally agree.
We watched some really good found footage movies recently, but this was like by far the scariest. And I think when we watched the first Horror in the High Desert,
Hmm.
that was we thought that was one of the better ones we'd seen in a while. I don't know that
Yeah,
we thought it was the scariest per se, but it was one of the better ones.
for
This
sure.
was one of the scarier ones I think that we have seen recently or in a while even.
I totally agree,
Yeah.
especially on the side of newer found footage.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
So whew, this is tough. I am going to rate this movie, and forgive me, I forget how this will compare to the last movie.
Hmm.
I'm going to rate this movie an 8.5 out of
Okay.
10. 8.5, which is very high for how we've been rating things.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could not agree more about it. I mean, I agree with everything you said. This to me wasn't just a successful like found footage film. It was a scary one.
Yeah.
Like there was this moment, and I'll talk about what it was that was happening later when we do spoilers, but there was a time when I was watching it that there was a reaction on my face, and my son was home with me, and he looked at me and he was like, because he's watching like cartoons or something silly. And he was like, he looked at me and asked me why I looked scared. He was like,
Yeah.
"What are you scared of? Like, what are you looking at?" And it was a part of this movie that I was just like really like into, you know. Yeah, no, I think this is better than the original on the scare level. I think it does a
Yeah.
lot of the same stuff, you know, obviously that made the other one work too. But yeah, so this is a really high one for me. I would give this like a 9 out of 10.
Well, I was on the border of a 9, and
Yeah.
I'm still not even convinced. I feel like I'm teetering on the 8.5,
Yeah.
9 range. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say 9 tapes out of 10. I'm switching right
Okay.
now. Peer pressure, 9 out of
9.
10, just because of the scare factor. Some of
God,
those scenes, and
yes.
I don't know how many movies you've given a 9. So that let's just do it. Let's both do a 9 on
On
this.
this channel, or on this channel, on in this show only once. The only other found footage movie we reviewed that I've given a 9 was Savage Land.
And I don't think I gave Savage Land a 9.
No, I
So
think you gave it like a 7.
this would be an 18 total tapes out of 20 for us then, and I don't know if we have another movie that
No.
that high. So
No.
wow.
No, that's it. Yeah, this would be
Okay.
it.
Nine
Yep.
and nine.
9
Nine
and
and nine.
9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was so it's interesting because this movie it is connected probably to the first movie, although there are no characters in this movie that kind of carry over from the first movie. They're all new stories, new characters, presumably in a similar location, I would assume. Although in the
Yes.
first movie, we don't exactly know where Gary Hinge is,
Right.
because he's lost in the woods.
Right.
The whole point
That's
is,
right.
where is this place that he went to cabin? So,
Mhm.
um, but so there's really two stories in this movie.
Mhm.
That the first half of the movie is features one of them, and the second features
As someone
another,
else.
someone else entirely. Um, and yeah, I would say, especially in my opinion, I thought the second story was, and some of those scenes were especially unnerving.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think the first half was more like the type of discomfort I felt when I watched the first one.
Right, right,
And then the second half of the second one was what took it to like a whole nother level.
absolutely.
Because I mean, some of these one like huge compliment, and it sounds like such an obvious thing to say, but you'd like be surprised. Like, but this is the shots that this team gets that create those moments are
Yeah,
so well captured on camera. Like
yeah.
there's a couple of scenes in particular that I'll mention in just a few minutes that are like when they
Yeah.
happen, they caught me off guard. They
Mm,
like the build up to them was so perfect that you almost just like you're like, okay, that's not going to happen. It's been too long now, and then it gets you. But this, I mean, the scares in this one, especially the second half, they are captured so well on camera. And that's like one of the reasons I think it was so effective for me.
And some of those scares, which we'll spoil soon,
Yeah.
fair warning, are like very subtle too. It's
They
like,
are.
you're like leaning
Yes.
in towards the TV, like, oh, is that what I'm seeing? Right? Okay, yeah. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and
Totally agree.
um, yeah. So, there's a lot I want to say that I will say. I think
Yeah.
we probably should just spoil this
Yeah,
thing.
let's do
So,
it. Yeah,
if you're
let's do it.
watching, if you're watching until this point, everything after now will be spoiling the movie. So.
If you have not seen it, please go do so. Go
And
see this.
it seems like
Go
really
watch
good
it.
people making this movie as well. The director, creator, writer, I think everything really. It's
Mm-hmm.
Dutch. I'm gonna get his last name wrong.
Marich.
Marich. And seems like a really good guy. And they're getting this movie out there, and people are watching it. And if you want another one, if you're in this sort of industry and you want to make another one, that's what you need. You need people talking about it and buzzing about it and telling their friends about it. And so I think it
Yeah.
seems to be there seems to be a snowball rolling downhill in the form of Horror in the High Desert right now. So
Yeah, he did comment on something that I saw on Twitter that they already have a third.
I that well, so now that we're spoiling, I was going to say it's definitely set up for a third. I mean, the end of this movie
Yes.
is
And yeah,
flat
and
out. Obviously, there will be
yeah.
another movie. Yeah.
Yes. So
Um,
they did so he did confirm that. And I think I read it like it's done.
like a soon, like not too
Like it
far off
should
sort of
drop at
release.
the end of this year. Like
Wow. Wow.
because he told me that I'm sure it's fine if I share this because this is just like film knowledge, but he told me that they wanted to like have like a set release date, but the way that it worked with putting it on, I think specifically Amazon, was they were booked out too far with specific dates. You just have to put it in and say as soon as possible, and then when a slot comes open, they release it.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is why
Yeah.
he literally did not know when it was going to be out until like the day before or something like that.
That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah. That's
So, I did, because I
very
did
cool.
chat with him, a little bit back and forth, because I messaged him and sent him like a clapping gif after I watched it, and he was like, "You watched it already?" I was like, "I know, I was serious, I can't help it." But and I was telling him about a specific scene that got me, which I'm sure we're both going to talk about. But I was like, "That was so good," and he goes, "That was actually scary to film." Like he's very
I
interactive
bet
and
I know it is.
engaging, which I
Yeah.
really love.
But
And yeah,
that's indie horror. We've talked about this. That's now
yeah,
indie horror as far in book form, in literature, in
yep.
movies.
Mhm.
People are, these movies are being made at a level where the creators are more accessible, and I think it's really fun and cool, and unlike anything that's existed in media before. So
Well, and I know it sounds like a little fangirly to say this, but I always feel it's very meaningful when the people that make these things, especially films that we like or love or are really into, like offer things like screeners or are willing to come
sure,
talk to you or willing
yep,
to, like, it's meaningful as a viewer. And then honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, even if I hadn't thought that highly of this, it would have still made me interested in anything else that they did, strictly because of how they are and the passion they could put into the project, and you see it when they talk about it and stuff. So
yeah.
it's just, I mean, I think it makes a difference because people
I,
are loving interacting with him. I see it come up in my feed all the time.
we've talked about that, before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't even know where it's going with that, but we've
We
mentioned that
have,
before.
yeah. It's a good thing. It's really good. It's a really good thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I guess I don't even know where to start spoiler wise.
Um, well, we should start the first half of
Yeah.
the movie. I would say, sort of split it into a couple pieces.
Yeah.
So the first half of the movie is really sort of features this story about another disappearance, similar to
Yeah.
the first movie.
Yeah.
Or is it a disappearance, or is she outright? Do they know something bad happened? I
I
forget.
mean, they're guessing something bad happened to her because of the stuff that they found, but they never definitively found a body.
Oh, okay. So I was forgetting that.
I don't think so anyway, unless I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was considered a disappearance.
I'm not sure. Yeah. So, but it does involve this person who's going to be a student, and for whatever reason, there's not room in the dorm that she was going to be living in. So she's set up in some sort of trailer out in the middle of nowhere. There's really only even one other individual who's like sort of living nearby.
Mhm.
Um, and clearly, there's a lot of um, mystery around this trailer that she's been living in, so much so that, after whatever happens to her happens, they
Mhm.
like they fill in the basement with cement.
They move it. Yeah, they
They
move the
move the
whole
whole house.
thing. Yeah.
Um, there was, you're getting a lot of her firsthand accounts. She's like sending messages to her friends and little video clips of things she's found in the house. She is reporting gradually feeling more and more unwell, which is
Mhm.
sort of um, perplexing. Why is that happening?
Mhm.
And of course, there is a basement and there's a videotape,
Yeah.
which is perfect for this subgenre.
Yeah.
Um, there is a VHS tape with footage on it showing some disturbing things.
Yeah, and I think so, with that part, one of the things that was so crazy that I love that worked really well was, and we've talked about this a little bit and other things as well, is the different uses of technology. So
Yeah.
they even go as far as to explain how the emergency access to the phone thing worked and why her friend would have that to
Perfect. Love that.
naturally,
Yeah.
yeah, to naturally logically explain how they got the information off of her phone, because they didn't just get videos, they got that recording where she was recording notes for herself on like
Yep.
a app, and they pulled it and she had fallen asleep. This was like one of the creepiest parts of that segment to
Oh
me,
yeah.
where she's
Yep.
like asleep and
You
like
could hear.
you hear talking, like a male talking in the distance and shuffle, a little bit of shuffling, and like that moment when her best friend says, you can hear a man talking, like I like
Oof.
literal goosebumps. Like I was
Yeah.
like, oh, like, it
But
was so unsettling.
I mean, it was really unsettling. But also the fact that the creators of this movie took the time to explain that. It's so often we've talked about in found footage, like there's a lot of expecting the viewer to sort of suspend disbelief and not
Yes.
question
Not
why
question. Yep.
they have this footage or
Yep.
they're still filming or
Yep.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that at this point, it can get old. And so
Mhm.
I think it's refreshing to see filmmakers who are taking time to explain and give actual reasons why footage exists for one reason or another. So I really thought that was important.
And it made sense, which was the other big
A
thing.
lot of
Like
stuff. Yep.
it wasn't so far fetched or left you going, yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Like because sometimes we do end up with footage that we can't logically trace a path as to why we would have access to that. But this
Right.
made sense, and I liked the use of the different types of clips and stuff that they had, because I love it because it's obviously like the documentary mockumentary style. So we
Yep.
get the interview pieces, we get the going out and talking to the guy by the trailer and getting the background, like all of that stuff. It just works so well with setting up the story and getting you like into it and kind of like making you forget like it's not real. But there are moments
Yep.
where you're just like, oh my God, that poor girl. Like this
Yep.
is real life.
And yeah, and we never find out exactly what happened to her,
We don't.
but on this videotape that's found,
Mhm.
is it found in an attic or somewhere?
Yeah.
Which she's like looking for black mold, I think, and she finds it in an
It's
attic
like in the side, it's like in
or
like a
side panel.
like a
I don't know.
side piece to the trailer that she's in. It's not,
Okay,
it almost looks like a hidden closet, I guess, or something. It's like a
okay.
nook and cranny inside of, but anyway, yeah.
Well, so they find this video, and there's a lot of footage of the former residents and people who've gone missing, and that have been
Yeah.
identified actually as people who have gone missing, and
Mhm.
you hear this. one of the most chilling things in this movie is the voice. There's like someone recording himself talking to somebody who's outside. You know
Oh,
what I'm
he's like,
talking?
oh, there's my friend.
And
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so then there's something outside, but also the person inside
You're like,
filming is just chills that voice.
I agree.
And you don't really get answers yet in
No.
this movie as to the source of this voice and exactly what these creatures are. Although there's some moment in the movie where someone says, "I don't think they're people. I don't think they're
Yes.
human," or something like that.
Yes.
So we don't know what they are. Some sort of humanoid beings
Mm-hmm.
that live out in the desert.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah. What else should we say about the first?
The only
Yeah,
other thing I would add is one of the things that I think makes that clip that you're talking about where the guy, I think it's a guy, is like, I mean, I guess it's a muffled voice, but I'm fairly confident
yeah,
it was like a masculine tone. But
sure, yeah,
when he's filming outside, naturally, I think as a viewer, especially as fans of found footage, we instinctively are like, that's the good person, and we're about to see
yeah.
something creepy outside. And this totally flips
Oh
that
yeah,
on its
love it.
head because now you're like, okay, who is the innocent person that they're like looking out at? Or what is, or at least at that point, because I think later I kind of got a better idea of what was going on, or at least I'm thinking I do. But and in
Yeah,
that moment, you automatically are assuming we're going to see something creepy outside. But now our person that we are seeing through the eyes of is the one we can't trust. And I think
right,
that that is effective in a very unique way.
right.
Yeah.
And then this person is filming something in the basement also.
That
And
would,
there's
yeah,
this
that was really unsettling.
really disturbing like track of music that is
Oh,
playing or
just
recording of some
so
kind.
loud and
And
disorienting. Yeah.
yeah, unclear exactly what that was, but it was effective and that
It
it
was
was
effective.
completely disturbing,
Agreed.
whatever it
Mhm.
was.
Yep.
And something happens to this woman that we were left not yet knowing,
With question marks. Yeah.
with question marks.
Yep.
And then it's sort of, we go into a different story, which isn't necessarily obviously connected
Right.
to the first one or even to
Right.
the first movie, except presumably these are the same people, whatever they are. But this one's about somebody else that goes um, missing or something,
Yep. I
right?
really like this one.
This one, yeah. So she's driving down the road, and there's a stretch of road uh, where there's no cell service, and this the family has a rule that when you get to this place, you always report back, and
Yep.
of course, uh, her car obviously breaks down right there, and she runs off into the woods, and at her dash cam or something is recording, so you get a little bit of something that happens to her, but really you don't know. And so then the search party ensues, and in my opinion, the police footage, the police camera or whatever it is, or
The
the
volunteer
volunteer
fireman.
firefighter,
Mhm.
yeah, that scene is one of the best scenes in found footage that I've ever seen, and I've seen
So
a
I
lot of found footage.
I agree. Before we talk about that one though,
Sure.
I wanted to mention the clips of the or I mean rather from the dash cam, right?
Yeah.
There is that moment where you're seeing the front and she, you see the front and then you get the clip of the back and you see just enough of movement that you're like,
Something is there.
something is behind the car and she has no idea because it's not like she's not recording it, it's connected to her thing. So there's that part where she gets out of the car and she records on her phone I think it's her
Yep.
phone. And she's walking or she's moving towards the main road, and there's a car coming. And as the car comes, the headlights hit a body of some side of something standing in front of where she, in between her line of sight and the road. And all you see is the outline, and the outline looks very strange. And that part, I literally, when I watched it, I literally went, "Oh, I don't like I don't
Yeah.
like that."
And then when whatever happens to her happens,
Mm-hmm.
all you do is hear. You can't see
Can't see
anything,
anything.
and it's really upsetting.
It's just her
Uh,
screaming, right?
like
Like you just hear.
I'm a mother, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, really,
Yeah, because she's a
really
baby.
upsetting.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
then
So, but yeah, so
then
then she
then
goes
there's search
missing.
party. Yeah,
Yep.
then she where with the place she goes missing, of course, is like the perfect location for like scary stuff to happen. It
Yeah.
looks like some abandoned mine or
It's completely
something.
dilapidated. It's like falling apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So good.
and the guy is looking for her. He hears her screaming at different times,
Yep.
and of course, he enters, one of these structures, and just drops his flashlight, of course, so
And
he
it
can't see.
breaks.
Breaks, so he only really has the night vision, but he still can't really see. But this is, in my mind, one of the most brilliant things. And I'm saying so much about this movie right now, but that's how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Um,
no, yeah.
there are just scenes where he cannot. He seems to not see what we are seeing, which is
Oh,
brilliant
yes.
filmmaking. And
Yes.
one particular shot is when I loved is he's like slowly walking back down the stairs and he can't see where he's
Oh,
going. And the camera's moving back and forth, but a few times it goes past the bottom of the stairs and there's clearly like a shape. And that's one of those moments where I had to like look closer and I was like, am I seeing something standing there? But then of course it comes back and that thing is gone, whatever it was. And there's a
yes.
lot of like that kind of capturing of whoever these things are.
Because it's definitely shaped weird. It's
Yeah,
definitely like an oblong kind of like it looks almost like like somebody maybe really tall, but it's just like you just look at it and you go, there's something wrong. Like, that
yeah,
part had me, that's the part that got me the most in this one was that part because that was one of those scenes that I was talking about earlier where they extend out the moment, right? Because by this point, he's been
a
in the
lot.
building for a couple minutes, like 2, 3 minutes. We're into this already. And we haven't really seen anything. We just keep hearing noises and movement and voicing of some kind. And we're just as like disoriented as he is because we have no idea. And the limited view on that thing is so well done too, because it's obscured. Like you see it. It's enough to leave an impact and you won't forget it after you watch it. But it's just enough out of sight that you didn't get to see enough to start picking it apart and seeing
Yeah,
flaws and because we talk about that all the time. When you see too much over and over and over and over again, it doesn't work anymore. But you see this just enough and he can't see it. He's literally doing this in the dark, like trying to
yeah.
feel around. He's completely alone. He's trying to help somebody, but his flashlight is broken.
Hmm.
And like, I don't know, like that whole setup for that had me so. And then the part that I thought was really great was that he survives. Because
He does.
he
Yeah,
just walks out because he's in a part of the interviews. Like,
yeah.
and
That
and
was
I kept forgetting that. Like I kept waiting on it, that moment of like something bad's gonna happen to this guy. And then I'm like, but I'm forgetting. I'm like, we're also listening to him talk about it. Oh my God. That part, I mean, that's the part that I messaged Dutch and said was like so scary. He said his response was that was actually really scary to film. Like that was his
like I
response.
wonder if they had to film that in the middle of the night. Like, I mean,
I'm sure.
well, so what it sort of reminds me of the weird misshapen humanoid sort of like blobs on the night vision. It sort of, and this is just me, this is gonna sound weird, but it sort of reminded me of like the artwork from the old Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. You remember
No,
those
it
books?
does.
It
Yeah, no,
sort
it
of
does.
reminded me of that, some of those images.
No,
I'm
you're
sure
right.
that's not what they were going for, but like I just had that sort of
Yeah.
reaction, which is good reaction.
No, that part was totally scary. Like, that part had me on it. That's the part where my son looked at me and was like, "Why do you look scared?" Like, that part got me. I was
And
like,
you
"Oh."
and you would have been, if your son was there, you would have been watching that like the middle of the daytime or something,
In the
right? Like,
middle of the day.
so I was watching that like late at night
Oh, fuck.
in the basement with all the lights off.
No,
It was
because
scary.
I
Yeah,
I also don't get control over my TVs and stuff very often. So he had control over the TV. So this was this scary and this impactful on my phone in the middle of the day, just for anyone who's like, and I actually plan to rent it as well, just to,
yeah,
and then watch it
yeah,
again on the bigger TV. But like I it was so like that part got me so bad. I am and a lot of those like a lot of the stuff like the wood shots and obviously like
yeah.
the interviews, there was a lot of things I liked that this still felt like horror in the high desert, even though
It did.
there
Yeah,
was different stories, even though it was scarier and there was more going on and not as much buildup. It still felt the same, which I'm really grateful for because I don't think that's an easy thing to do.
it's not an easy thing to do. It's also not easy to have a sequel. How rare is it that the sequel is better
I
than
know.
the first? When the first was good, the sequel
Yeah,
is
and
even
that
better.
yeah, that's not a
That
knock
doesn't
on the
happen a
first one
lot.
at all.
No,
Yeah.
no. That doesn't happen a lot. So and at the same time, it still has the same feel, right? It doesn't feel like
It
it's a
really does, and
different series.
it
Yeah,
didn't lose any of the magic that was horror in the high
yeah.
desert. It just added to it. I'm telling you, and not just in found footage, but I'm genuinely thinking in horror in general. I don't know of a sequel that hit like this one did. Like,
No.
I just can't think of another one. And then like to think in my head, like they already have a third one. Like,
Yeah, well, and that I think is going to end up working out really well for them. I mean, based on how all the buzz that this is generating.
yeah,
Whereas, like, I feel like when the first one came out, we really liked it, but when we watched it, we hadn't even heard about it. We just sort of like found it ourselves, I
yeah,
think, on one of the streaming platforms. And but there definitely feels like there's a lot more. There are a lot more people sort of talking about this one right now.
yeah.
Which I mean, that's what you want. That's
That's great.
I
And we always
wonder.
like that for the subgenre in general, but I really love that this filmmaker is getting this attention for this because like the first one really was such a strong film. And then
Yeah,
to come back and with another one and it be even stronger, that's crazy.
I wonder if they're going to be a bunch of movies and they're all going to sort of like leave us on these like
Oh,
cliffhangers, like wanting the next
wanting
one.
more.
I mean, I wonder how long you can do that. But
Yeah.
so far, I like it. I'll keep watching. I want to know what happens next.
Yeah.
They
No,
got
me
me.
too.
They
Yeah,
got me hooked.
I'll definitely be signing up to watch the third one for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like I'm always in search of the scary found footage. We talk a
Me
lot about this.
too.
Like we have good found footage. Sometimes we have scary but not great. Sometimes it's good but not scary. This is both. It's really
This is
well done.
yeah.
It's unique. It
Yep.
still feels like found footage,
Mhm.
and it's definitely scary. There's only a few that I feel I've seen that are in this stratosphere.
Yeah. No, I agree on all accounts. I think this is great. I'm super pumped about the idea of a third. I mean I had a feeling going into it I was probably going to like it cuz I really liked the first one, but it just surpassed all expectations. Like I just because I didn't get like scared in the first one until that one section of it at the end.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yep,
when you're looking at that
that's scary. Yeah,
post in particular, and then all of a sudden that thing moves down, that scared me so bad. but that's the last fourth of the movie. Like there's not that much left when that happens, but this was a lot more consistent with the scary and the unsettling, which I really appreciated.
My favorite part of the first movie was the end. And
Mine too.
This movie gave us more of that feeling, which I was really grateful for. So thanks, totally Dutch.
True. Yeah, Dutch. And thank you for sending us screeners. That was awesome.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Really excited to see the third. So, yeah.
What are we watching next week for people who are
next week? I'm sure people knew this one was coming, right? Next week, Tom and I will be back talking the other new found footage movie
that everyone's talking about right
now. The Outwaters.
Yeah, next Friday.
So
tune in.
Yep. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on this Found Footage Friday. Have a good weekend, and Tom and I will see you next week.
Good night. Have a good one.